So as poorly as Virat Kohli handled the situation on the field, I think Sam Konstas handled the situation off the field perfectly by how he deflected and moved on from the physical confrontation. So Kohli was found to have breached Article 2.12 of the ICC Code of Conduct for Players, which relates to inappropriate physical contact with a player, umpire, match referee, or any other person. So the incident occurred at the end of the 10th over when Kohli walked up to batter Sam Konstas and negligently bumped his shoulder with the batter inappropriately, negligently. So the 20% of the match fee is what Virat Kohli was fined. It is, it is dirt change for a man of Kohli's wealth, and I wasn't surprised, but I was disappointed, Baz. Clearly, Virat Kohli made physical contact with him intentionally, and clearly it was inappropriate. And I think it's embarrassing for the ICC and world cricket that doesn't get called out on a more significant and considerable level.
Yeah, and it's going to be an incident that will be discussed and rewatched, and will do the rounds for a long time to come. And you called it. It was so unnecessary and a little sad, really. So and I mentioned it at the start of the hour as well, where you have someone with his status, that is Virat Kohli. And for him to try and intimidate a kid who's on debut, who's having fun, who's in the past spoken about how much he looks up to him, and for no reason. Like, it's not that they had a stoush. And Uzi said, I saw in another interview that there's some words being exchanged between them, but that's just cricket, and that should be encouraged. That's how Virat Kohli was when he started his career. He wanted to have a word with whoever he was up against and make his presence felt, which is what Konstas was doing. And even if he had just said something to him, he would have been like, was it necessary? But for him to, for any kind of physical, I wouldn't say altercation, but physical contact of that nature, negligent or otherwise, it's so out of line. And if it was anybody else, and you have to stick your neck out and say, if it wasn't Virat Kohli, even if it was another Indian cricketer, I can see a world where it's not just a reprimand and something much more serious.
Yeah, for sure. There's a saying from a famous Australian sporting coach: "Don't pee down my back and tell me it's raining." Like, we can see that's not negligent.
Yeah.
His peripheral vision isn't so bad that he's accidentally making contact with Konstas. He's deliberately and intentionally driving his shoulder into Konstas. Now, the force of it is in many ways irrelevant because you're playing cricket where the physical contact shouldn't exist.
No.
And it certainly shouldn't exist in between overs, not in the heat of the moment, e.g. if you're running through after taking a wicket or something like that. This was a deliberate, considered ploy and they showed it on the TV and we talked about it, where he diverted off his line.
Yes, he did.
To make contact. So the 20% match fee is a slap on the wrist, I shake my head at the ICC BCCI relationship sometimes. I know that it exists. I understand that it's better for the game if Virat Kohli plays in Sydney. But imagine if Konstas had reacted in a way that was, fighting fire with fire. Then it would have been a complete disaster.
Imagine if it was someone else and not a young kid. And the way he dismissed it of Konstas, that is, he showed class in the situation.
Massively.
He said, "No, it was an accidental bump." Like, that's for a 19-year-old to show, to be the bigger person, says a lot about him, but also says a lot about like I said, I keep using the word unnecessary actions of Virat Kohli, which clearly, and I said this off air to you, didn't I? A reprimand is a word you'll hear a lot.
Yeah, and that was it.
24 hours, and it is a reprimand. He gets one demerit point, but it's
nothing.
Yeah, I mean, compare that to, say, if he does get suspended for Sydney Test, it could well have been, there would have been, and that's the fear that exists these days, right? Like, if Virat Kohli is suspended, India just immediately call off the Sydney Test.
Yeah, we're going home. We're going home, monkey gate style. It was a childish, sooky act of poor sportsmanship, says Louis. The latest in a week sook-ups from the Indian team. Media is too scared to say that, though. I'm not too scared to say that.
He just said that.
Yeah, Virat Kohli, I read it, then I read it out on air. Virat Kohli, the way he acted at the airport with Nat Ioannidis at Channel 9, and how he's gone from being combative and in your face, which I don't mind because that's how he plays his best cricket, to sort of old and grumpy, and a little bit senile. And I think I just think it doesn't befit the player that he is or the standing that he has in the game. And what we saw yesterday, I don't know. I think it should be punished more heavily than a 20% reprimand. I also think Usman Khawaja should have stuck up for Sam Konstas in that situation. Now, he didn't see what was going on. I accept that. But Khawaja puts his arm around the situation and tries to diffuse it. If I'm Australia, or if I'm Konstas or anyone else that's associated with the Australian team, I'm wanting Khawaja to put my arm around Konstas and say, Virat, go field at second slip. Like, why is he visibly taking Virat's side? I don't like that. I don't care how long you've known Virat for. You're in Sam Konstas' team in that moment. That's just my view in that situation.
I thought it would, if it had become a bigger issue, it would have been used as defense by the Indian team. If anything, if it had become a, if there was a hearing of some sort. But Usman Khawaja, like you said, not defended his actions, but explained his actions while giving an interview to another radio station I saw overnight about how long he's known Virat Kohli, and
I get all
he
that.
just wanted to diffuse the situation. But it was on, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the reason that it's not 4 demerit points is because there's never has been a 4 demerit point incident relating to player and player contact. There's been 3 before. Once was an abuse of an umpire, 2 was ball tampering. So it's unprecedented, and because there's no precedent and the force wasn't to a level which can elevate it above, say, the Rabada and Steve Smith, he doesn't get the demerit points required to be suspended for Sydney. So Kohli will play at Sydney. I'm interested to see what his reaction is today. I'm very interested to see what the Australian team reaction is when he comes to the crease, whether they leave him alone or whether they go at him. Because sometimes the best way to get at Kohli is if you do leave him alone. But they also, I think, need to fly the flag to some degree. Whether that happens today or not, I'm not sure. One of the other storylines from yesterday is continued failed DRS reviews from the Indians this summer. I think they're 1 from 13. This continues to be a problem for Rohit Sharma. They get it wrong consistently.
Yeah, and he's getting for someone who's so steadfast in when he thought it was time to go for the DRS and all, his hand's been forced a lot since he's come back and taken over the captaincy in Adelaide. It's just symptomatic of how Rohit Sharma's last few months have gone with the bat as captain. Again, he was found out yesterday as captain, and a lot of question marks are being asked about the way he's leading this side. And it doesn't help that Jasprit Bumrah inspired India to that famous win in Perth.
Bumrah seems like the captain though.
He does.
Look on the field. It's like Bumrah's the leader. Rohit Sharma's standing at first slip. He's clearly not as athletic as he perhaps once was, to put it politely.
Yeah.
And Bumrah's the leader. Like in every sense of the word, Bumrah's the leader on the field.
Yeah, and it's not just Bumrah. You can see Rishabh Pant. There are times when it's great to have a lot of people putting a hand up to, put themselves into leadership positions. But there are other times when it almost feels like the captain's not in control. And that's what it looks like this summer, during this series, ever since Rohit's come back and taken over the captaincy.